Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Standard 81 podcast. I am back, uh, and today is Monday Memoirs. Uh, I did a special Sunday edition uh, entitled Men, It Is Your Fault. So if you want to check that out from yesterday, go check that out. But in the meantime, let's get a 30-second break to get our minds right, and I'll be back with you in 3, 2, 1. And I am back. What's up, everybody? How you feeling? Happy Monday to you all. Um, woo. Today I'm going to share a story uh, about my personal life, something that has happened in my past, long in my past. But nonetheless, I want to go ahead and share it and get it out there, and maybe to explain a little bit of why I do what I do. Um, and before anybody says anything, I will say this: I was once jaded because of this particular story. I was once very angry because of this particular story, uh, and I was once a simp because of this particular story. It just goes to show you that when you're out here determining who you're going to be with long term, as in marriage and getting into relationships, there's a lot of stuff you need to consider before entering that particular agreement with each other. So, having said that, I want to let you guys know that I was engaged twice, and eventually I'll tell you the story of the second engagement. But right now, I'm gonna tell you the story of the first. My first engagement happened while I was still in college and I was very young. I think I was 23, 23. Anyways, by the time the relationship ended, I think I was 23. Um, I was in a rap group. For those of you that don't know, um, which is probably the majority of you, I used to do music as a Christian hip hop artist, and I was in a rap group. And I remember us going to a particular college to do a performance. At this particular college, my friend seen this woman, this lovely young woman he liked, and he asked me because he was nervous to talk to her and get her number. I proceeded to get her number, um, but she then told me, uh, "Don't give him that number. You can use it because you were man enough to come over here and talk to me." Now, mind you, I didn't want to talk to this particular young lady, not because she wasn't attractive, but just at the time, I wasn't really checking for anybody like that. And to be perfectly honest with you, a little outside of what I would talk to typically. Uh, my buddy understood where I came from in saying that. And after some time, I think it was about 3 or 4 months, uh, I finally winded up calling her and said, "You want to hang out sometime?" Of course, we winded up hanging out. Um, she was happy about it. I was happy to have some company. especially an attractive female. Uh, Time passed. We kept hanging out, and eventually I grew to like her. Um, because not only was she decently attractive, but she seemed to have been a decent person as well. Not to say that she's a bad person, but let's just say at the end of the story, I don't want you guys to think that she's a particularly bad person. I think she's just a person, just like anybody else, that has made um, poor decisions, just like all the rest of us in our lives. Um, so time passes, and I asked her to be my girlfriend, and we officially started dating. As we're dating, she's in college, and by this time, I'm out of college because I just found out that college wasn't for me. It's not the way that I learn. It's not very conducive. And the thing that I initially got into the college for wasn't really being offered in the form that I thought it was going to be. So, needless to say, I got out of college. But during that period, she was studying and she was doing a lot of studying. Now, I want you to bear that in mind come as I finish up the story. She's doing a lot of studying. And I understood that. The fact that I was just working a full-time job for a Fortune 500 company at the time. Um, I understood the fact that she may not have as much time to go out as I did because I had a schedule, a routine, something that I was pretty consistent in. I knew what time I was on. I knew what time was off. I knew what times I were available and what times I wasn't available. But she wasn't readily available. That didn't stop us from hanging out whatsoever. But I did begin to notice something strange. Now, mind you, I'm saying this negating the fact that she did some awesome stuff for me during the course of our relationships. Um, she was the first person to ever get me anything significant that I liked. She got me tickets to a group that I had been wanting to see at the Hard Rock Cafe. It was dope. I appreciate that to this day. That was one of the best things I have ever got um, when I was in a relationship. But things change, times change. Now, moving forward, I decide to let my parents know this is the person that I'm really interested in. I'm talking about um, marrying her. I want to get engaged. My father then sits me down and he says, "What is it you like about her?" And I could only name three things. I said, "God, music, and sports." We both went to church. We both love music. I was more of the music connoisseur than her, and we both were into sports. Now, at the time, I didn't realize what my father was talking about. But now I've come to realize that those are very shallow things to build a foundation on when it comes to marriage. Not saying that those things are not important because commonalities are, but there's got to be a bit more to it. And me being as young as I was, I didn't understand that. So I was looking at him, needless to say, like, you don't know what you're talking about. I like this girl. I'm really wanting her. Woo woo woo. Um, get up out of my face, or just let me be, basically. And If I was to look back, I should have probably stopped and really asked more questions of what he was talking about when he asked that question, because now I understand. I understand. Now, something happened between the time that I actually proposed and the time that we were going out. And I'm gonna say this, in this within this time, this young lady was telling me she was in love with me, boo 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 boo, wooty wooty woo. And I could never quite say it back. I really liked her. I really did. I liked her a whole lot. I mean, like, to the point I was really talking about getting engaged, but I just wasn't at that peak, that precipice, which should have told me something right there. But nonetheless, I kept going. And then the incident happened. An incident where I winded up in a hospital fighting for my life or death. And when I come to and I figure out everything that has happened, people told me what had happened. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Why am I playing around with the people in my life and the things that I have in front of me? Let me stop being so childish and let me go ahead and do the thing I know I want to do. So when she came to visit me, I finally told her I wanted to marry her. I said, once I get out of the hospital, I'll go get you a ring and we'll make this thing 100% official. Well, I did exactly what I said, but when I told the people, that my family and some of the people that I knew, they were happy, but they were like, I don't know if that was the best choice. But they say, look, if that's who you want to be with, we're gonna rock with you. We're gonna make it happen. We started meeting families started meeting together, having dinners, and so on and so on. The things that you do when you get engaged, to try to figure out who the people are, and what your people are like and what you're marrying into. And I started to know some I started to notice some things, that the way she was raised and the way I was raised was totally different. Not that that's a big deal, but there were things that stood out that I should have took note of, but because I was thinking I may not get another shot at this, and life is short, and after that life or death situation, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't take this for granted no more." I should have thought of this. But give me a second. I didn't. I didn't look at none of that at all. I just completely ignored it, and I said, "Look, I'm just gonna make it work," which was the which is honestly a good thing to do, but look out for the signs. Look out for the signs that tell you stop, do not proceed forward, do not go. And I will say this, just because you and that person don't work out doesn't mean this person's a bad person. Just means that wasn't the person for you. But I didn't look at the signs. I didn't look at the signs at all. We started going to marriage counseling shortly after I got engaged, because I wanted to make the process go. We started discovering more and more differences. And the times that we would go out where it was a lot of fun, it seemed to be contentious, and the atmosphere there didn't seem to be as cool as it was before. Not that we were arguing, but it just wasn't like it was in the beginning. And don't get me wrong, I am not the type of person that's going to sit there and say that there's not going to be challenges or things that uh you're going to have to work through in order to get to the next step. But you know the difference between a challenge. You should know the difference between a challenge and just outright sign of nah, this is a no-go. And I was ignoring the signs of a outright no, this is a no-go because I'm thinking to myself, this may be the only opportunity to get married. This may be my only opportunity to find somebody to live life with. So I'm like, challenges is just a part of a relationship. Now, I'm going back to the fact that she said she studied a lot, which she did. She studied a lot. And the times that we would go out on dates became less and less. And then all of a sudden, I was introduced to a guy that she was studying with. And the times of studying with him became more frequent, and the times of chilling with me became sparse. Not because I was doing anything different, not because I had lost a job, not because I was treating her any different, but just because she said she was studying. Needless to say, I was trying to be the understanding fiance, understanding that she's still in college. Let me focus on setting things up so that when we do get married, we're ready to go and everything fits into place. So I started focusing in on that. I remember we were going to go out to celebrate something. I forget exactly what it was. It may have been an anniversary or something like that of when we started dating. And I had bought flowers, I bought candy and all this good stuff. Got hopped into my car, drove all the way to where she was at school, only to pull up and find her and her study partner in a study prolonged makeout session behind the back of her car or her SUV. I didn't know what to do at the time. I didn't even know what to say. Part of me wanted to jump out of the car and confront. Part of me wanted to scream and yell. Part of me wanted to cry. But ultimately, what I decided to do is just go home and go back to where I was and think things over. But what I decided to do while I was driving home is I said, "Hey, let's." I called her up and I said, "Hey, listen, today is, I think it was an anniversary. I forgot. Once again, I don't know what it was we were celebrating, but I said, "Do you want to go out tonight?" She said, "No, I can't. I'm studying." I said, "Oh, with whatever his name is?" She said, "Yeah, we've got exams coming up. We really gotta lock things in." Now, mind you, I had already seen the evidence that I need to see to know that that wasn't just all study. Yeah, I said, "Okay, well, I was going to come see you, but I guess now I'll stay at home." She's like, "Yeah, I'll call you some other time." I hung up, got back to the house, and sat there like, what am I supposed to do with all this? The next week, we finally got together. We hung out, I took her to a restaurant, and that's where I decided to confront her. And I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I know about you and your study partner." She played as though she didn't know what I was talking about. I told her I seen her. I told her where I seen her and actually what was happening. And she said, "Oh, it's not like that." After a while, she finally admitted it. And I said, "Look, I forgive you for what you did. Tell me what I need to do better in order for this not to happen again." She said, "I don't know." I said, "Look, let's just start over. Let's just act like we're at day one all over again, and we'll go from there." She agreed. So we continue to go to marriage counseling, but at this point, we are acting, we are trying to renew the relationship after the cheating, right? And little did I know, she didn't feel the same for me anymore. Marriage counseling ends. The marriage counselor says, "I don't know if you guys are exactly ready, but whatever you do, you need to go to God first and figure out what it is you want to do." The last thing I remember is having a conversation with her and saying, "Hey, look, are we going to make, let's start making plans to make this thing work." She then turns around and says, "I don't feel the same anymore. And I don't think it's going to work between us." Devastated, devastated. Because at this point, I feel like I gave everything. I I told her uh, about the renewal. I told her that I had seen her. I told her I forgived her. I'm like, what more is there left? I'm working. I'm trying to make sure that everything is in place for us. What more is there to do? The problem is I never I ignored all the signs. I ignored every single sign, and those who were trying to advise me, I ignored them as well. And it winded up costing me a lot of heartache and pain. And needless to say, we broke up. I spent about 2 weeks not really knowing what to do or really doing anything at all. And I remember about the second or third day within that 2-week period, I was in my room and I just broke down and cried. I mean, like snot nose cried because it finally kicked in. Everything was over. There was no returning back. There was no going back to nothing. There was no way to restore or renew or anything. And the only thing that hit my mind was, if you do all this only to get this, I don't know if it's worth it anymore. And from that point on, I was a different guy. It was crazy how things happen from that point, but that's a whole nother story. Needless to say, I learned a lot of lessons with in that particular relationship. Some that I have carried on to today, and others that I've had to let go because they weren't the right things. I say all that to say this. Pay attention to the things that know the things that you want in a relationship and know the things that you're willing to compromise with, but make sure it's substantial. And don't ignore the things that are blatantly out in the open. When you see something about somebody's character, confront it. See if that's something you want to work through. And if you do, don't be mad with the outcomes. I say this, guard your heart. Guarding your heart is the thing that's going to save you from a lot of heartache. Know what your intent are, know what your intent is in getting to a relationship, and listen to those who have already been where you want to go. Having said that, I'm gonna sign off. Uh, I know this one was a lot more melancholy than I would like, but I thought it was time to share. So that's it. Anyways, check out the Standard 81 podcast over there on TikTok. I got a lot of clips up there. Um, check out Instagram at Sincere the Artist. You'll see a lot of different things there as well. And I will be back again on Wednesday for a Wednesday rant. And I will see you then. All right. Take care of yourself. See you later. Peace.